You know that thing where you book a holiday and immediately start calculating how much extra work you're going to need to do before you leave? The late nights the week before, the handover notes you write on the plane, the promise that you made to yourself that you'll only check your Slack once a day, which then becomes like 3 times a day, which then becomes just leaving it on in the background just in case. That means you're not on holiday. You are literally just working from a different postcode. I'm Charlotte Elliott, and this is Get Your Life Back. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to take 2 weeks off this summer properly. And that means no phone, no fires, no panic messages, and coming back to a business that has held itself together without you. 5 steps today. That's all it's going to take. And obviously, honestly, all of them are going to be doable before you leave and go away. So, what I want you to think about, because I know you've had this feeling, it's like you go away, but you don't actually switch off. And then you end up coming back feeling almost more exhausted and more stressed because you've been trying to juggle everything whilst trying to pretend that you're switching off for your family. And you've had no rest at all. So you just come back and you're a bit more anxious. You've just taken your anxiety away with you. And the worst part of all of this is you have got a team, and you've got a team who are more than capable, but they just haven't got the clarity to work in a confident way so that they can actually take things off your plate. So things are still just going to keep coming back to you. And this is what we're going to be fixing today. But before we go into it, and if you want to actually take 2 weeks off from your phone, completely switch it off without your business falling to pieces, we need to talk about the mechanics underneath and understand how that's possible. But we also need to look at like why this is happening and why so many founders cannot switch off and they're going away and they're still holding their phone. They've got it by their side every moment. They're frantically trying to find signal in the most remote places in the world. And it's like, no, you should be switching off right now. So I have spent 20 years inside founder led businesses and I have seen the same thing over and over again. I have handled everything from operations, from VA roles through to COO level tasks. Like I have been inside so many different businesses, but the same thing, the same patterns, everything has just kept coming up. It's the same old thing. And it's basically the bottleneck is never the team. The bottleneck is always the founder, and they think it's the team. But the real issue is that the decision makings, like the ownership of that, everything is still inside the founder's head. So they think that they've handed stuff over, but actually they've just said, for example, oh, you're going to be in charge of like client onboarding while I'm gone. But they haven't actually defined what that looks like. They haven't actually given measurable things that and ownership to the team member. So they're just left with this vague, okay, I'm in charge of like client onboarding, but they don't actually know what that looks like. So when it comes to it, when you've left and you're on that plane and a new client comes on, they're just like, oh, well, this is my thing. But they don't actually know the steps on how to do it properly because there's things that are still in your head that you haven't properly handed over to them to enable them to take it off your plate and not be sending you that. So sorry to interrupt you. Like, just need a quick question answering, but enjoy your holiday. Like those messages. Like, that's what we want to get away from. So, it's all this invisible content that the founder that you are holding in your head that we need to extract once and for all. And it's not just for a holiday. Like, yes, it's going to be great to go away for 2 weeks, but if you can build a sustainable business that is going to run without you, like that's the goal, isn't it? So this is how we do it. It's starting to extract everything that is in your head that is a bottleneck. And it'll be like the smallest things as well that you don't think about because they just, quick decisions for you. But because you're the only one that can make that decision, that becomes a very big bottleneck the moment that you're not there or you're not available to make the decision for the team. So I just want to get into this today, and I'm going to give you what I'm going to call a framework called the holiday handover. Great name. Uh, Um, so it's going to be fun, and you're going to start 4 weeks out from when you are going on holiday because you booked your plane ticket, you're really excited, but I know you get that dread because you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to hand everything off? And what normally happens is the founder will like do all of this like mega prep work the week before or the run up before, and it will always end up being like a last minute, that Friday afternoon, frantically flapping around whilst half trying to pack, half trying to organize the kids, but also trying to do handover and just sending these rushed voice notes and, like, oh my God, I need to make sure this team member knows that or what have you. And they think they're doing due diligence by quickly going through and clearing their inbox and, all of this stuff because they think that's going to help the team. Actually, they're doing this with, and that's actually like a huge vulnerability because you're just acting almost as this protective mechanism. You're kind of like a shock absorber, and the team are never actually learning how to fully do everything on their own 2 feet, and they want to be there, like, they're there to help you and support you, um, but you're just doing this, what I call like a pre-holiday sprint, and then you're just literally crossing your fingers, praying to God that nothing goes wrong or lands while you're away, and that you'll be able to then pick everything up. And I've definitely been in this situation, and I've definitely seen so many founders do this. They then come back from holiday, and that all that lovely relaxation, if they've managed it or some of it, that is gone within an instant, the minute they open their inbox, the minute they check their Slack messages, the minute they're back online, because it's just like vroom, because nothing has actually happened or continued to move smoothly while they're away because they are the bottleneck to those decisions, which should have been handed off. The decision rights should have been given to the team members way before they left. So let's get into it. Let's start talking about these 5 steps. So, I want to go through this in a very simple way, and we're going to start with 4 weeks out. So, 4 weeks out is the load audit. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to keep coming back to it because it's so important. So, this is where you are going to get everything out on paper. And don't try and sit there and remember every single task that you do on a daily basis, because if you're anything like me, you will not remember it. You've got so much going on. A really easy way to do this is just start documenting, just like even in notes on your phone or on your laptop. Every single time you do a task, just jot it down. And it needs to be every quick question, every like small approval, because as I said earlier, even if it's like an approval on a payment or what have you, if you don't hand that off, if you're the only one that's got the authority to make that decision, the minute that that stops, that you're not there, you haven't got signal or you're too busy in the pool with your kids, that just bottlenecks, and then that's gonna hold up a cause a massive hold up with the team back home. So, just think every single task that you do, just jot it down, and that you're gonna end up with this huge, messy, I probably feel quite overwhelming list of everything that you do on a daily basis. But just do that, like, every single time that you, like, do it, just everything. Try and document as much as possible, and think about capturing, like, the invisible decisions that you're making as well, like the micro decisions that your brain wouldn't really register. Just don't put any filter on anything. Don't tidy it. Just get everything down on paper. That's your first step. And you're not going to hand this over like this to your team, by the way, because they will probably run for the hills. So get everything out. And the reason for this is, I'll just give you an example. So think about a really great head chef of a kitchen, okay? And before he goes on holiday, if he just, he thinks he's getting prepared. So he's like, right, I'm going to like prep all the ingredients so that everything's ready for my line cooks while I'm away. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't write down, the exact, like, ingredients for a soup, for example. And then he doesn't write down the exact quantities or ratios of the spice recipe. So then 3 days into his holiday, he's getting annoyed at the team of line cooks because they've messed up the soup because they didn't have all of the information that they needed to remake a batch. Like, think about it. You need to give absolutely every single piece of information so that your team could do a task from start to finish and not need you for any part of it. So, step number 1 is doing this load audit. Get it completely out of your head, and you're going to end up with like the biggest list that you're just probably going to think, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? But this takes me on to 3 weeks out. So, 3 weeks out, you're going to do what I call the ownership map. And this is where you're going to audit every single item on that list and assign it to someone and give it a real owner. So that, and so they know it's their task to own. And this might be the point where you ignore the job titles a little bit, because you might figure out, oh, well, my, marketing VA, she might be the only one that knows how to actually unfreeze the payment system when it goes wrong. Like, work out who knows what, and you're going to put all of this, map it all out so that, when a client complains, who is actually going to be updating the CRM with this? Who is going to be responding to them? Who is going to be handling it? How are they going to be handling it? And document it somewhere where everyone on the team can see. Like, if you've got a client project management tool, or if you're using Google Drive or wherever it is, you need to have one single source where everything is, so everyone can see this document as to, like, who owns what. And then it won't be a case, when you can sometimes get team members just being like, oh, well, thought so and so was handling it. And it's like, well, no, I thought so and so was. And it's just, it goes round in circles. This is giving them ownership of their tasks, so they know that this exactly is what they've got to do and it's their responsibility. But documenting the who is responsible for what task is completely useless if you have not then given them the actual kind of mechanics of executing it. So they need to know how they do this and what good looks like. Not just you're in charge of handover. It's like you're in charge of like onboarding. It's here is the onboarding process and here is it documented out, every single decision, everything that it links into. And I'm not telling you here to go and write like a full on SOP Bible, because you're like, I'm trying to go on holiday here. I'm trying to start winding down. I do not need to be creating some massive, massive thing, but it's making sure that you've got targeted documentation on the things that are really going to be bottlenecks while you're away. And it's the things that keep coming back to you time and time again. So, whatever that task is, make sure it's a process document. And by that, I mean, it's not just a checklist of like, do this, do this, do this. You need to have it properly laid out, like who is responsible for this task, who else would they need to contact for this task, where are they going to find the information, put links like on the document, put links to other information they might need, whether it is a um a portal for something, whether it's the logins, whether they need the password spreadsheet, like say where the files are stored that they need, link to them, have absolutely everything on this document so it's there for anyone could pick it up if they needed to. And step by step, and then give like specifics on it as well. So it's things like, if it is an on client onboarding process, for example, have the key dates, times, like how quickly like the process needs to be run through, what the wait times are, what's like good, what's bad, like how to if something goes wrong, all the troubleshooting steps, have everything in there in this one place. And I've got a really good, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but on my website, I've got something called the Team Setup Playbook. And in there, one of the sections is all about producing really good, detailed SOPs that actually work, that your team will use, rather than just recording a Loom video where they're like, oh, I need to know something, but I don't want to watch the whole video. Yeah, this is what you need. So go check that out. So on from this is, once you've got everything documented out, you need to start about 10 days out, I would say, from when you're going. Look at the decision rights framework. And I've talked about this previously, but it is so, so important. You want to be sitting down and have every task written out, and it's whether that person, that team member, has the authority to make decisions on it, or whether they need to run things past you first and check with you. And it's just a 2-column list. It's like either they handle it without asking, or they need to flag it with you. Um, so, and I'll explain, like, let's like explain why this is so important. So think about a teenager, for example, and you give them a credit card and it's for, you know, they can use it to spend 50 quid. So you say to them, like, you can spend 50 quid per month on petrol and food and going out. That is giving them freedom, that is giving them a tool, that is giving them things, but you're putting the guardrails in so they don't bankrupt you. So they can't just go off. Like, if so, that's what they're allowed to handle. What they're not allowed to go and do is spend 2.5K on a brand new laptop without asking you. That is an ask you first question, but they're allowed up to the limit to do that. So it's the same in business. Like, and I highly recommend this, by the way. If you are going away and you do not want to be bothered for 2 weeks, literally give at least one of your team members access to credit cards, to the payment system, so that they can buy things on your behalf. Because if something goes wrong and they need to make a payment, you do not want to be firefighting that from the beach and wherever you are in the middle of nowhere. So give them the credit card, and then, for example, if something goes wrong, they need to know that if there's a limit, so if it's under £500, they can make a decision. If it's more than that, they need to run it past you. That might, and that could be the same kind of thing. For example, if a refund needs to happen, give them the authority on how much they're allowed to refund. Like, what is the threshold? Like, okay, they can refund up to £500, but if it's more than that, that's a bigger decision that they need to run past you and get the authorization from. And then you can explain that, like, to them, that they need to just tell the person that's requesting the refund, due to thing, we're working on it, but there is a slight time delay because you're away. Anyway, it's basically being really, really explicit with what they can do, what they have ownership of, and it's gonna help them have more clarity, and they'll be more willing to help, because once they know that they have the authority to do certain things, to make certain decisions, they're not going to be sat there second guessing, thinking, oh God, like, how do I do this? Or I don't know, like, dodging the responsibility because they're not quite sure where the line is. Does that make sense? So you've done all that, and it gets to a week out. 1 week out, I want you to do a test run. You are going to step back fully from one area in your business, completely step back. You're not allowed to, like, step in at all. Don't check in, don't hover, don't be that annoying person that's just jumping in to fix minor errors. You have got to completely step back, sit on your hands, and see how your team handle things for a week without you. And just watch what happens. Because whatever comes back to you in this week is going to tell you where the exact gaps are in your documents, in your processes, in your decision rights. And they are the things that you can then fix quite quickly once you can identify them. So once you've done that, that's going to be so much better to be able to fix it there and then while you're with them, before you're 30,000 foot up in the air, or up a mountain, or wherever you're going on your holidays this summer. Fix the cracks now, and then you can switch off properly. And once you've done all of this, have then I would say, like, a 30-minute sit down with each team member, and just go through, hand them the decision rights doc, and, like, go through that with them. And then once they've gone through it, once you're happy with it, get them to say out loud what they are responsible for, what decisions are theirs to own, because that's going to fully kind of, you know, act as an actual commitment to you, that, like, they know this is what I'm responsible for. This is where I need to step up. This is mine to own. So, this stuff is so crucial. And it, like, for example, it's like this, as an example, like, when it works. So let's give some scenarios. Say you're away and the payment system goes down. Normally, if you have not done any of this, it would be mayhem. It would be absolute chaos. You would be getting a million messages from all of your team members, just like left, right, and center, like you trying to firefight things, your family going off to lunch because you're just trying to do everything from your phone because you didn't take your laptop because you intended to switch off, and then it's just impossible. And it just feels like, oh my God, my business is combusting. I'm going to have nothing left when I come home. And it's just stressful. It's just stress, stress, stress. So, actually, if you've done everything that I've just said and you've got that ownership map, they're going to pull that up when this crisis happens, and they're going to look at it, and it's going to be like, oh, right, okay, I know, like, whoever on the team, they know, like, this is like payment gateways, like them not working. This is a column one. I own this. I need to fix this. I am going to go and find a support team. I'm going to find out how to fix it. And they will handle it without asking you. And then say it needs a fix. Because you've given them the authority to spend up to £500 on emergencies or what have you with tech, they know that once they found someone and they found a solution, but it's going to cost money, they know that they have the authority and they've got the decision right to make that decision and be like, right, okay, we're now going to get this team, this company in to fix the problem for us so that things can get back up and running and run smoothly. So again, they just pull the trigger and they do it. They don't have to contact you. They don't have to wait for you to have signal again or check your phone again to make a decision. So what could have been like chaos in the past, actually, they've got their systems back up and running within an hour or two because they've been able to follow a framework. They've been able to follow the decision rights and they know exactly what they can do. And the likelihood is like you won't even hear about it then until you come home, if ever, because it wasn't a big problem because they could handle it. And it was just another thing in the day to day that they just got on with because they were capable, they were confident, and they had the tools and the decision rights and the ownership of that to do what they needed to do. So let's look at what happens if you skip a step because I know what happens. Life happens, business happens, and time just runs away. So you'll skip steps. So if you don't map, or say you do map the ownership, but you skip the decision rights, you're going to have someone, for example, on your team, Sally, and she owns client communications. So she gets an angry customer email come in demanding a refund. And she's like, oh, that's mine. I know that's mine. It's on the ownership map. Like that's a Sally task. But she doesn't know what her decision rights are on whether she can refund that person. She doesn't know up to what level of like cost she can refund. She doesn't know if she can do a £1,000 refund or whether she can do a 500, like because it's never been documented or told to her. So she knows she owns it, but Sally's going to leave that in her inbox and she's going to keep like, flagging it and just pushing it to the side because she doesn't have the confidence. She doesn't have the like ownership to actually crack on and do that task. And in the meantime, she's probably sent you a message or 500 of them being like, oh, I've got this really angry customer and da da da, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you. And it's just like a headache for you because you're trying to switch off. Or you are switched off, you haven't looked at it, and then this angry customer is getting more and more irate because they're being ignored. So don't skip any steps. They are each one of them feed into each other. They are so important. And you can't just pick, so yeah, just don't pick the easy ones because you need all of them for this to work. And this is, again, I remind you, this is not just for your 2-week holiday. This is literally how you set a business up so that it will run without you having to be involved in the day to day every day. It is so that you can get your freedom back. It is so that you can get your life back, which is what this is all about. This is why you built this business in the first place. You did not build it so that you could work in operations day in, day out, firefighting. Well, at least I don't think you did, because why the hell would you do that? So, for those of you kind of are questioning things like, I don't have 4 weeks, like my flight's in 10 days' time, Charlotte, like what the hell? What am I going to do? Do what you can, do as much as you can, and I think even if you like don't have time to start doing things, just do the whole mini audit. So step back for 2 days and see what the gaps are, because then you can fill them a lot quicker once you can see, right, that didn't work, and then you can start plugging them. But yeah, do as much as you can because it is good. Like, you want to switch off. You didn't book this holiday to go and work from another location. You booked it because you're exhausted and you want time off. You want to spend time with your family. You want to decompress. You want to go offline for a bit. This is how you do it. And there might be some of you that are thinking, yeah, but what if stuff still goes wrong? Like, life happens. Like, we are all human. Things happen. So something might go wrong. But if you have put all of these things into place, you will be able to diagnose and see very quickly where the gaps are, whether it was a problem in, say, you weren't crystal clear enough on your documentation and the processes, or whether you didn't hand over the decision rights, they weren't clear enough. Like, it will be very easy for you to spot what the gaps are once you've been through this, and then once you've tested it, and then again once you've been away if anything comes up. So what I want you to do today or tonight is just set a 20-minute timer and write down everything that you did today that you can remember. And like, as I said earlier, even the smallest, tiniest, like most irrelevant tasks, write them down, because that is going to be your starting point. And Don't filter it, don't organize it, just go through it because that messy list is going to be the foundation for your freedom. And for those of you who desperately need this but are prone to like procrastination and putting things off, I have got something called the setup check. It is completely free. It is a 5-day session. It is only 10 minutes a day and it is designed to help you identify exactly why your team aren't taking things off your plate. And then you can also be able to see the specific element to you that is going to make the biggest difference that you need to fix first. So find the link below for that. It's completely free. And honestly, 10 minutes a day to start getting your life back, I think that's a no brainer. Um, and something I just want to leave you with today, because that's something that popped into my head while I was prepping for this. I know that your business can work perfectly well without you. And definitely if you work with me, like this is what we do. And it can work perfectly well for you for 2 weeks while you go on holiday. But I think there's something for a lot of business owners on a deeper psychological level. And it's like sometimes are we the architects for the exhaustion that are we causing this ourselves? Because if we've got the steps to freedom that are really clear, we've got the name it, map it, document it, authorize it, test it. I've given you the 5 steps today. Why do so many brilliant and capable leaders refuse to do it? They refuse to just switch off. They refuse to do the handover. And do we need to be asking ourselves, why are we leaving our phones on all the time? Why are we leaving our Slack messages open while we're by the pool? Why are we forgetting or not having time to delegate things? Is it because deep down we are completely terrified of the alternative? Being terrified of being dispensable, feeling like you're not needed in your business anymore. Is our consistent lack of preparation or chaotic stuff, is this all just our subconscious desire to feel desperately needed? So, you might just be reallocating your anxiety because the anxiety is actually what's making you feel important in your business. Something to think about and think about it when you're booking your next flight for your holiday. But yeah, check out the setup check and let me know how you get on. And I hope today was useful.